Sub-champions, we're doing something very different today. Kind of, I don't know. I'm doing the Fire Emblem tier list maker. This is something that I bookmarked and I knew I was going to do, and then I completely forgot. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot to do this. We finished Blazing Blade, I have to do this. So here we are. This is every single character, I believe, that appears in Fire Emblem the Blazing Blade for Game Boy Advance. And I'll be ranking them in different tiers, as you can see here. And just a very, very important disclaimer. This, by no means, is, how good these characters are in battle. I'm sure people have done that in the past on YouTube. That's not what I do, that's not me. I don't know all these characters' growth rates or anything. This is just how attached I am to this cast, how attached I am to these characters. So without further ado, let's take a look at all the different tier lists before we jump in. Going from bottom to top, obviously. So of course we got the Who Even Are You, as in, literally Who Even Are You? I don't even remember you. One above that is Don't Care, as in, I'm not going to shed a tear if this unit dies. The next one is I'll Throw You Into Reinforcements, as in, I'll throw this character into reinforcements, and if they do something cool, that's great, if not, whatever. The next one is Yeah, I suppose, so I might bring them along, but I'm not expecting too much. And then we have Solid Stuff, it's all the units that are my favorites, but they make up the numbers in the army, right? They're the ones that I can rely on if I need someone to rely on, but they're not my favorites. Next we have Chads and Chadettes, which, it's pretty self-explanatory. And then we got the Goat, which I don't know if I'm just going to give one or maybe two, we'll see. But I'm sure if you guys have seen my Fire Emblem the Blazing Blade playthrough, I'm sure you know what's going up in, well, a couple characters that might end up in the GOAT section. Without further ado, let's jump into this. Actually, before that, I'm going to leave the link to this site, this website, it's a very cool website, down below for any of you that you want to try this out. And you can actually go through and choose different games in the menu, as in like which Fire Emblem games you want to rank and stuff like that. So and I think there's ways to do like, just all the main character lords or something like that. So I'm giving you free content. If you make YouTube content on Fire Emblem, go ahead, give this one a go. Tell the world your controversial opinions, because I'm about to tell you guys mine. So let's go. It is very cool that they're all ordered in the order that you get them in the order that you recruit them, so that's very cool. Starting with one of the lords herself, it is indeed Lynn. Lynn, I'm going to put you in Solid Stuff, because, she really is Solid Stuff. I like her design. I like I think her whole concept, as well as the whole Sakaean concept, is based on, like, Mongolian clothes, right? From what I understand. Really cool, because, they have those huts that they kind of carry around, and they're not always located in the one area. I think it's super cool that Fire Emblem kind of borrows from real-life cultures like that. Lynn's really cool. She, becomes really strong. Again, I'm not ranking this based on strength or anything, but her utility is really cool as well. She can use bows eventually, and she pulls a whole bunch of criticals. She dodges a bunch of attacks. Very solid stuff. I like her a lot. Next we have Sane. I mean, technically it goes in, he goes here from, if you remember my Blazing Blade playthrough, but I suppose I'll put him in, I suppose. I'm not a huge fan of his whole, like, womanizer attitude personally. His headband's kind of cool, I guess. I've never been the biggest fan of green cavaliers, so there's a bit of bias going on there. But, I think his design's fine. And I did hear that he gets some decent growth spurts if you do actually decide to use him. I've just always preferred Kent over Sane in, every single... from the first time I played this game. But he's alright, I guess. Next, we do have Kent. I think Kent should go in Solid Stuff as well. I think he's very solid. I might put him slightly below Lynn. I like his kind of stern attitude. He's very serious about everything. And when he becomes a paladin, that's super cool as well. He's got some really cool supports with Marcus as well. The whole like what do you call it, like superior sort of thing, right? Like he looks up to Marcus, that sort of thing. And I think he's super cool. And yeah, he's just he's just a cool guy, I guess. Very serious, but he does his job right, and there you have it. Florina, yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? She's a Pegasus Knight. So she goes there. Also, I really dislike the whole Moe character. I can't do anything by myself. Can you please help me out, senpai? Sort of personality, so that's the reason why Florina's down here. You know, I'm not putting her in Who Even Are You, because I kind of do know who she is. But yeah, I'm not going to use her anytime soon. Next we have Will. I mean, I almost want to put him in here, but I suppose I'll put him in, yeah, I suppose. He's alright, I guess. It's just the other archers in this game just tend to be a little bit more interested in my eyes, at least. You know, and we'll get to those in a second, but yeah, I mean, he's got a cool little shoulder pad thing. That's interesting. I have read some of the support conversations because I did record some of those. And I know Will, and I forgot who it was now, if it was Raven or someone. But I learned that he isn't particularly bright. He's a little bit dumb and a little bit slow. And I thought that was kind of funny. That was kind of cute, to be honest. I think without that knowledge, he might have been a little bit lower, but yeah, he's interesting. He's just a village boy that uses an arch, a bow and arrow, I guess. Yeah, so interesting stuff, I suppose. Alright, Dork is a Chad. There's no other place to put him, you know? He's out there risking his life to bring back money, to get medicine for his wife. He has the Dork Tornado. No one can oppose the Dork Tornado, for one. And, you know, he can even use the bow, which is so cool. Bo Dorcas is super cool, and I love him so much. And, you know, as well as he gets really high HP values. I believe he got up to like the 50s by the end of my run. But yeah, just overall, I've loved this man ever since he first appeared. He is a Chad for sure. Chad for sure, definitely. Yeah, Sarazen don't care. I might put you even higher above Florina just because of my vendetta against Pegasus Riders. Yeah, again, she's the whole thing of, oh, I'm cutesy. Help me out, Eric. Yeah. Not much I can say. One thing I will say is it is very interesting, or very cool, that she does have a custom pixel sprite. You know, because the healer sprite is usually just the regular one, but she has twin tails in her one, so, you know, there's a bit of attention to detail. I guess that's kind of cool. And yeah, I suppose she has a thing about looking up to Hector and stuff, so that's kind of interesting, but again, I particularly don't care if she was or wasn't in this game. Eric, okay, I will put you in low end of solid stuff. Eric is the GOAT. The unfortunate thing is that there is a lot of other magic users in this game, later on especially, that I tend to prefer over Eric, even though this man is the absolute GOAT. I like him a lot. He's like he's kind of lazy, or, you know, he's kind of like, he doesn't want to get into any, you know, troublesome situations. He's like, piss off, Sarah. I don't want to deal with your shit right now. I dig that attitude a lot. And, you know, he's cool. He turns into a sage. He can heal up later on. And he kind of like, yeah, he looks up to Pant and stuff. It's interesting stuff. Yeah, I'll put you in solid stuff, definitely. Okay, Wrath, you're the GOAT for many reasons. First of all, the whole Sakai thing. I love all the Sakai characters. They're cool. Their whole aesthetic is cool. I love how this is a very, very minute detail, but I love how in the key visuals of Wrath, he's like, I forget what it was. I think he was petting his horse or feeding his horse or something. He seems like he has a very strong attachment towards animals, which is, you know, always a great thing, especially with male characters, I feel. You know, it's like you have the brutal, you know, like the brooding kind of characters like Dorcas and stuff, right? I suppose Raven is sort of another one. And then you have kind of like the quiet, cool characters that like animals, that are very kind-hearted, but don't show it off immediately, and I'm very weak to that sort of thing. And so I love Wrath to bits. He has a cool horse. I love the bandana, his earring, and yeah, he's amazing. I wish I could use him a little bit more in my Blazing Blade playthrough, but yeah, unfortunately by the time he appeared, some of the other units that I had tended to be a little bit stronger, so it was a bit of an unfortunate situation for him, but yeah, no, I still love him to bits, so Wrath is definitely up there. Okay, next we have Matthew, or Matty Boy. I'm gonna put you in, yeah, I suppose, probably the higher end. I like the whole situation between him and Layla, of course. That was a very cool little side story. I haven't particularly gravitated towards him from the very beginning, and I don't particularly, it's weird because I don't particularly understand why in this case. It's cool that, you know, he's working under Hector. That's interesting. I think maybe the reason why I don't like him as much is because the two other assassin characters, or, you know, the two other thief characters in this game, just gravitate to me way more, and I think that might be why he does feel a little bit bland in a sense. But again, I do like his color scheme. I like his red scarf, you know, kind of like ginger or like light brown hair. I think the color scheme is great. But yeah, again, he doesn't pack too much of a punch on the battlefield either. So yeah, I think that's kind of the highest place I can put him in. So there you have it. Okay, next is Nils. I'm gonna put you at solid stuff, actually. I'm gonna put you higher than Kent, maybe even higher than Lynn. The reason behind this is not due to, you know, how good you are in the battle, or, you know, even your character design. Even though, yeah, it's a very cute character design. He's got that green scarf, he's got the flute. I just really, really liked his character arc and his role in the storyline, along with his sister Ninian, obviously. But I like how Nils is this really young boy. I guess he's technically a few hundred years old because, you know, he's like the ice dragon or whatever, but he's this young, sort of immature boy at times, but he's very mature based on certain situations. He knows that he has to stand up for his sister sometimes, even though he's very young and, you know, he doesn't have a ton of responsibilities, but he knows if he needs to stand up, he absolutely will. And he's very appreciative of what Hector does or what Eliwood does or all that. And I think, yeah, he's just a very deep character. I don't tend to gravitate towards a lot of the children characters in stuff like this, you know, JRPGs and stuff like that, because they tend to be very immature. They tend to be very rash, as in like they jump into battle and they don't think about things too much. But Nils was a character that was very deep. He had emotions. He felt, you know, he had there was times when he was very depressed, you know, at the end with the Dread Isle, and he's like, what can I do? You know, he's you know, at that point his sister is dead, or at least he thinks so, and he's just like, no, I need to go and help them. I need to overcome this, and I need to go help them. And I thought that was, you know, bits like that were what really made Nils special, especially the ending as well. If you do end up marrying Eliwood to Ninian, then Nils makes the very mature decision of, alright, sister, you can stay in the human realm. I'm going to depart. I'm going to do my part. It's going to be a bit sad that we're separating, but I'm going to go back to the dragon's realm because that's what I have to do, kind of thing. And he was very, very cool in that moment. I really, really like Nils. In fact, I'm almost tempted to put him one tier higher. Yeah, I think that's justified. I'll put him there. He's a very cool character. And so far, at least, you know, I haven't revisited some of the Fire Emblem games that I've already played, and we will be doing that on the channel going forward. And I'm definitely going to, you know, do these tier lists and character analyses, I guess, I don't know, character thoughts at the end of each series. But at least for the time being, from my memory, he may just be my favorite child character in this entire franchise so far. I do like him quite a lot. Because, yeah, he just loves... It's kind of like seeing the underdog grow in a sense. But yeah, in this case, it's kind of like the coming-of-age sort of story with his character arc. I know I just went on for quite a while about Nils, but I had a lot to say, so I do apologize. He is definitely one of the main characters of this game, and I do genuinely believe that. He is just as important as characters like Eliwood. Moving on though, we have Lucius, of course, the light boy, the light mage. I'm going to put you in solid stuff and slightly under Eric, I think. You know, unfortunately I couldn't see him to the end and promote him or anything like that, but I do think his character arc is very good as well. You know, even though he is just a side character in a Fire Emblem game, which means there is a lot left to be desired in terms of characterization, but I do like his whole situation of he's kind of like a weak, sort of sweet boy, but he wants to grow. He knows he has to grow, right? For the sake of his friends, for the sake of characters like Raven that he looks up to, and just for himself as well. He knows that he needs to get stronger. He needs to overcome fear and stuff like that, and I think that's really cool. of his character. I do really like the character palette, the color palettes as well, of the blonde and the light blue. I think that works very well. I think it's slightly under Eric personally, just in terms of personal preference, but yeah, definitely solid stuff, okay, Wallace. Okay, yeah, I did somewhat forget about you, to be honest. But I think I'll put you in the top end of yeah, I suppose. I do like the characters that are very like, you know, these kind of old but gold characters, right? They're like old men or something, but they have a heart of gold. They laugh a lot. They're just like, leave it all to me. I'll do everything. And I think Wallace was sort of like that, especially when he first appeared. I also do think it's kind of funny that he didn't know where to go when he appeared in episode Elliewood or episode Hector in the Lloyd map, of course. I think that's sort of like, you know, I'm just going to charge in. I'm not going to think too much about him, about what's going on. I think that's really, you know, a charming trait, and I like him a lot because of it. So yeah, Wallace is definitely, yeah, he's solid. I do think he's solid. Probably not solid enough to be in solid stuff, but yeah, definitely on the higher end of yeah, I suppose, I think. Yeah, I like him. Alright, Elliewood, Ellie Good. I'm gonna put you at Chads and Chadettes, I think. Yeah, top end of Chads and Chadettes. I really like Elliewood, and I've seen a lot of people that are a bit mixed about Elliewood, because he is a character that is a little bit one-noted. He's the typical hero, right? He does what's right. He stands up when he knows that he needs to stand up. You know, he overcomes his friends' deaths and stuff like that. I don't want to say immediately, but you'll know that he won't stay depressed for too long, right? It's that whole hero archetype, and I get that can feel a little bit, you know, cliched or something like that. But at the same time, I do think this game's story particularly is sort of this kind of cliched, and I say cliched in a good way. I say it in a good way. And I say that because, you know, the whole storyline of we have to beat these bad guys, we have to stop these dragons from destroying our world. He is the hero, right? He is the heroic, very noble protagonist. And I think in a way, because the storyline in a sense is very simple like that, they can focus on the character relationships and the character dynamics. They don't have to make the character super unique, but what's gold about Elliewood is that you learn a lot about him, or you learn about his values and stuff, and how mature he is, even though he's maybe 17, 18 sort of thing. He's still a young adult, right? But he knows that because he has this role of being the next Marcus, he needs to grow up. He needs to grow up fast, and it's kind of a similar thing with Nils here, right? Where he knows that he has to lead his army. He knows that he's the only one that can wield this legendary sword, this legendary weapon, to take out this giant dragon to save the world, right? He knows that, and that's why he pushes through. The pain of, losing his father, losing Ninian, stuff like that. And I do think that's kind of the reason why I don't think I've publicly said this, but I do prefer episode Elliewood to episode Hector, personally. That's just completely a personal thing, and I'm not talking about the gameplay, I'm talking about the story. I think Elliewood's whole thing of going through this trial in this giant cave to get the Durandal, and then immediately the Durandal goes out of control and he ends up killing one of the closest people, to himself, right? He ends up killing Ninian because he couldn't control the Durandal, and then he gets really depressed for the next chapter, right? And I think that moment is what really solidified why I love this character as a protagonist. And I think, a lot of the characters, Fire Emblem protagonists do tend to be one note a lot of the time, I feel, at least in my kind of opinion. But again, we'll have to see when we revisit some of these other games. But Elliewood is definitely a character that really stands out for me, and that's the reason why I like him a ton, and that's the reason why he's so high up. But I know that some people do have a few issues with him. Let me know down below, by the way, if there's anything you do disagree with, or maybe there's something that you want to expand upon that I've talked about so far. Please let me know, because I'd love to have a giant discussion. It's all, a judgment-free, healthy zone in the comments. I don't mind if you put some of my favorites down very low, and if you really like some of the characters that I dislike. But yeah, I'd love to hear all your reasonings and stuff. Next up, we have the Chad Marcus himself. I'm going to put him low Chad tier. Look, what can I say? Loyalty is his middle name. You know what? Loyalty is his first name. He's loyal not only to Elliewood, but also his son Roy. He knows what he has to do. He knows that he has to boost up the morale of the squad, you know, within these supports of, you know, characters like Sane and Kent, as well as the next generation. I'm not going to talk too much about Binding Blade Marcus because we'll raid him again when we finish Binding Blade. But, you know, he has these supports with Alan and Lance and stuff like that as well. And so I do think he understands his role, that he needs to, you know, he needs to be strict with these underlings, but he's very nice and he provides the right advice when he needs to. If Eliwood ever needs something done, then, you know, Marcus is the right person to go to. You know, he's in a similar sense to Oswin, and I think that's one of the reasons why he's very high up within the game as well. He's tanks pretty much everything. He's very fun to use, you know, and I think that's yeah, I've loved Marcus ever since the very beginning. And I think he very much does stand out compared to a lot of the Paladin characters that each game has. I don't know if he's my favorite, but he's definitely up there, personally. Next, lo and behold. I'm going to put you in yeah, I suppose. I know I have the whole lo and behold joke, and that's kind of funky and funny, but at the same time, I don't know too much about him. I suppose I'll put you in between Sane and Matthew. I do know that he has a thing for nature, I believe, and he also likes cooking for others, so that's kind of funky. I really like his color palette for once. His turquoise hair and his gold armor. I think that's really cool, especially in the battle animations. That really does pop. And yeah, I suppose the whole thing is whoever sees his eyes, you know, they don't hear the end of it or whatever, right? Like they don't see the light of day next sort of thing. I don't know. But yeah, not much else to say. I think he's a fun guy. He's a goofy guy. I'll put you in yeah, I suppose. Okay, I'm gonna put Rebecca up to the very top. I don't know if I've ever explained. Yeah, I'll put you above Wrath. I don't know if I've ever explained why I love Rebecca so much, but I think it's really similar to Nils's whole aspect, and I've felt this way ever since very early on when I first played this game as well, where because Fire Emblem is very much a game where you increase your stats, where you get very attached to your units, you like seeing the numbers. I mean, I'm someone that quite likes seeing numbers go up in like these JRPG games and stuff like that. And I think Rebecca is the prime example of that, where it suits her character so much. She's just a village girl that doesn't know left from right, but then you gradually grow with her, right? You love seeing her get the you know, good boosts when she levels up. Giving her items like, you know, angelic robes, power rings, all of those, right? To see those stats go up. And then when you start seeing, you know, at the very beginning, she's not super good. She might just do one hit of like 4 damage or something. But you start gradually, it's a gradual thing. You gradually see, oh, she's doing a little bit more damage. Oh, she's starting to double. Oh, she's starting to one-shot characters, you know? She's starting to one-shot like wyverns and stuff. With, you know, items like the longbow, the brave bow, and it's definitely, I do think, because Nils is just a dancer, maybe that's the reason why I don't feel the same way towards him. I guess maybe if Nils was an attack-based character, I might feel very similar in that regard. But Rebecca was a character where I was just like, every single time I got to level up with this character, I felt proud, as if I was watching over her, you know, as like a family member, as like a parent or something. And I think that was one of the reasons why I felt so attached towards her all the way to the end. And you just keep seeing her get better and better and better, right? And then she promotes, and then she rides ballistas and one-shots characters from really far away. And you know, she gets better stats than like Louise or Wrath or something like that. And yeah, there's just something about it that I felt very much attached to, and that's the reason why she is the GOAT. Moving down to Bartray, this is the first character I'm going to put into Who Even Are You? And I understand that this man appears in Binding Blade. Maybe he has a better, interesting, more character within that game. But I do feel like Bartray is a character that kind of gets overshadowed by Dorcas, because they appear at the same time, obviously, and they're both Axe units. And Bartray is the whole thing of like, I'm very energetic, I'm very passionate, let me out there, let me get all the kills, you know, that sort of thing. And I feel like he's very forgettable in that sense. The reason why I feel Dorcas is a lot more interesting between the two is because he has this whole thing with, I need to buy medicine for my wife sort of thing, right? He has a reason why he's fighting. And perhaps Bartray does have something like that within one of the support conversations. Again, I haven't read all of them yet, so maybe he does have something very interesting. But right now, as of this instant, I feel like he's a very, very forgettable unit. And yeah, that's just the reason why I'm going to put him in the lowest tier here, and I do apologize if any Bartray fans out there exist. Alright, next into Hector. This might surprise you guys. I'm going to put you in solid stuff. I'll put you above Kent. For one thing, okay, so there's a couple things. Actually, Hector's, yeah, I do want to talk quite a lot about Hector, actually, so bear with me for a little bit, because I did play episode Hector now. There was a lot of cool, cool interactions between him and the other characters. I liked how he had an immature side. In fact, he was very immature throughout a lot of the story, right? He would run into battle, he would understand that there was, he would end up being like, oh, now I understand the consequences, or he'd get very emotional towards Oswin, being like, you gotta spit out what you're hiding, stuff like that, right? There was parts of him that was very emotional, I think, and there was parts of him that was very much childish in a sense, might be the better word instead of immature, and I think that fit well with his, and he really is a very, very important part of this group of main characters. I really like how this game has 3 main characters that banter with each other and that grow with each other, right? Eliwood's always telling Hector to, calm down, let's do this rationally, right? Lynn is a very emotional character in the sense that she would be like, I don't agree with this, I'm not going to do this, right? Eliwood's the character that's like, I'm going to put my emotions to the side, I will do what's best for this army. And then Hector is the type that's like, I'm just going to go in there, let's just deal with this first, we'll think about it later, right? And because those 3 characters are very, very different personality-wise, it works very well when they clash with each other, when they say, hold on, no, I don't agree with that, right? I want to do this my way. And then there was a whole thing of Eliwood and, with Lynn and Hector bantering between each other. Let's do this, let's do that. And Eliwood's like, no, we have to decide this as a group. We can't split up. We have to all do this as a group, right? And I think in that regard, Hector's a very, very necessary character in this game. However, there's a couple things that I suppose I wasn't the biggest fan of in terms of his personality. And that does definitely include his childishness, I suppose you could say, or his, lack of critical thinking. I understand that's his character, and that's the reason why he's like that, is because he grows gradually, right? And without that, they definitely would have felt like there was something missing within the game. But if you were to tell me which of the 3 main lords of this game do you least like, right? I would have to say Hector. As much as I do love him, as much as I do like him, I should say, sorry. And I do think he's very much integral to this storyline. I do think Eliwood and Lynn have definitely, I've definitely become a lot more attached to them compared to Hector. I really like how Hector's kind of like a big brother to Nils. I think that's fantastic. I think that's absolutely perfect. And I really do like how, if you do play through Hector and Lynn's support link, then that's very sweet, that's very cute. You get the ending at the very end where they're married and stuff. I think that's fantastic. But again, yeah, there were moments where I'm just like, come on, Hector. Like, come on, we could think this through a little bit more, and so that was slightly frustrating, but still, he's a very solid unit. He's a very solid unit on the battlefield as well. He'll tank pretty much anything, and I think that's super cool as well. The Wolf Bale is definitely definitely the coolest like primary like unique weapon, like before the armads and stuff. I think the Wolf Bale is very cool. But yeah, I mean, here's the other thing as well. I do think if there was a little bit more interaction with his brother Uther, maybe I could have liked him a little bit more, and I think that could have been a slightly more interesting opportunity there. But yeah, again, very solid character. I just that's my reasons behind why I think he's my least favorite out of the 3 lords at least. But definitely super cool character. Okay, Oswin, I think in a similar sense, I might put you underneath Hector here. I definitely do prefer Marcus personally, but Oswin is in a similar range where he is the cool, calculated one, right? Without Oswin, Hector would have done so much worse things, right? Or so many things that he would end up regretting. And I do like how Oswin is kind of like a parental figure to Hector. He's like, think this through one more time. You've done this, and that's fine, but we need to clean this up. So let's just think about it rationally, what we should do next, right? He's very much that kind of calm, collected character. And I do kind of wish there was a little bit more information, or maybe there wasn't in their supports that I haven't read yet, but I did want to hear about how they met, or like, you know, what were some of the things that happened in their earlier friendship or mentorship, I guess. One thing I will say is that I really do like how they are both like heavy armor knights as well. It really does show that Hector looks up to Oswin and whatnot. But again, I should kind of start speeding through things a little bit more now. But, you know, when it comes to main characters, I do need to I have a lot to talk about. So, anyways, we got Guy next. You know what? I'm going to put you here. I'm sorry, buddy, but yeah. Guy is a rough one. I do believe he doesn't grow very well. He's definitely my least favorite out of the Sakaean characters. His headband's kind of cool. But again, his whole personality of, I'm gonna be the best, you know, he's very protagonist-like, but he's also very forgettable, I feel. And also, you know, I'm never a huge fan of using Myrmidons in my parties as well, so that is something that does come into play here. And at this point of the recording, I have actually seen the support between Matthew and Guy. So like, even then, even with that knowledge, I do say that, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Guy. I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, his ponytail's kind of cool, I guess, so I'll give him that, but... Okay, I'm gonna put Melanus in, yeah, I suppose, I guess. Although he did have a few moments, so let's put him higher up in year, I suppose. I'll put him at the top of year, I suppose, actually. Especially the epilogue, or, you know, the final battle, where he goes, I want to go with you guys, you know, don't tell me to turn back, Eliwood and Hector. And they're just like, no, this is too dangerous, you have to go back. And you can be a merchant in our kingdom, and you can get a great job there. And, you know, even though he was feeble, even though he was, you know, kind of scared, he did well throughout his whole thing, and he managed all the items for everyone. And yeah, he was a solid character. He definitely was. And I think it's really cool that similar to Marcus, he does appear in Binding Blade, and it's this kind of, it shows his loyalty towards this, you know, the Eliwood family, you know, throughout generations. So I think he's a very cool character. Okay, next we have Priscilla. Design alone, I'm gonna put her up here somewhere. I'll put her above Kent. Well, design and abilities. So first of all, abilities. I really like how she's the Valkyrie. I love Valkyrie characters because you can run around the field, you can heal up characters really easily, and, you know, you can rescue drop, that sort of thing. Very fun to use. I like her little Icarus wing in her hair clip. I think that's a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really get to see the episodes with her and Raven's story or anything like that. At least not just yet. But I'm sure those are interesting as well. And yeah, there's not much else to really say about her. I like how she uses magic as well, like fire magic, and she's actually pretty solid at attacking as well once you promote her, so very fun unit to use in battle. I love her color palette as well, so cool stuff. Okay, next we have Raven. I'm going to put you in year, I suppose, again. I'm going to put you above Matthew just because I like his design way more. I like the shoulder pad. I like the kind of like coat kind of thing going on. His red hair's cool. You know, he wants to gain revenge on, I forget, House Cornwell or whatever. And he's kind of like the, in a way, he's a bit of like the silent type, but he's also sort of fiery. He's got this drive to want to defeat and avenge his fallen tribe and whatnot, right? I think that's super cool. The hero class is really cool, and it fits him quite a lot as well. I also like how in his support with, was it Rebecca? I think it was with Rebecca. He talks about how, you know, he doesn't really care about what he eats, just give me meat and, you know, and I'm fine, sort of thing. You know, he's optimizing, you know, he's not caring about the emotionals, he's saying he has a goal and he's gonna go through with it, and I think that's really cool. But yeah, he is kind of overshadowed by some of the other characters, and that's the reason why I'll put him there. Kansas. I originally hated this man, but definitely in the Chads and Chadettes class. I might put you above Marcus, yeah. Definitely not above Nils, but yeah, Kansas is cool. Or Canas, if you're watching this for the first time without watching my Blazing Bait content, obviously. You know, he's the only dark mage in the game, and I like his little, you know, monocle, his little eyeglass, that's kind of fun. His purple color palette's super cool as well. I like a lot of the shaman animations within these Game Boy games as well. He teleports away when he avoids. His crit animation's cool. The druid design is super cool as well. And yeah, I guess he just kind of has this kind of like curiosity and drive to learn about dark magic and stuff like that. I think that's kind of interesting. He's a bit ambiguous in terms of his morality, you know. Maybe he does step over the line in terms of, you know, maybe he wants to resurrect the dead at one point. You know, there is a lot of things you can think about with Kansas where he's just like, yeah, he might actually do something like really messed up in his own time because he's so curious. And he reminds me of characters like, if any of you have watched or read Shaman King, there's a character called Faust, which is a mad doctor who basically operates on his own body. He does all kinds of things. You know, if he breaks his leg in battle, he'll use a scalpel to open up his leg and fix it on the spot. He's crazy, and his drive comes from wanting to learn more and more and more, and I feel that about Kansas like a ton. And I think that's really cool. You know, I don't know, I have a soft spot for these kind of occult characters, so yeah, that's kind of the reason why I ended up really being attached to him in the end. So there you have it. We have Dart. Dart is fun. I'm going to put you in solid stuff, maybe slightly under Kent. I like his whole thing of his backstory about being washed ashore or whatever 5 years ago without any memories. And then there's the whole situation with Rebecca, right, with their support. And, they were technically siblings, that's cool. And yeah, and you know, Dart he's a pirate and he's a bit of a brutal character, but he knows that he's not going to harm kids or women or something like that. He's heroic in his own sense, and I think that's cool. I also really like the whole pirate and berserker unit or class, I should say. A lot of fun to use. I know the ocean seal is a bit hard to come by, but yeah, it was a lot of fun using him. I do wish he grew a little bit stronger, but other than that, yeah, a ton of fun, and I did really enjoy his episode with Rebecca for sure. Fiora, is that even her name or is that Farina? See, I don't even know at this point. I'm gonna put you in Who Even Are You? I don't know who you are, but if I have to pick one of them, of the Pegasus sisters, yeah, she probably has the best design. If I'm looking at it, I like the cyan, and I like the bangs and the headband, to be honest, but again, who even are you? Who even are you? Right, next up is Legault, who had absolutely no screen time in our playthrough because we could not recruit him, but I love this man. He is in Chads and Chadettes. I might even put you above Dork. Yeah, I'll put you above Dork, I think. In fact, can I just change something? I'm going to put Nils up one more, because I really do like his growth as a character. Legault, I love to death. I love his design. I love his headband, his long hair. He has these cool boots. If you look at his Fire Emblem Heroes art, he has a giant cape. He does a ton of damage in battle as well. He is in every way a better version of Matthew, and I hate to say that to you Matthew fans, but it's kind of true, at least when he's on the battlefield. Legault's really cool. I like his backstory. He's just like, I'm gonna jump off this sinking ship. The Black Fang's not gonna last for any longer. So you know what? I'm gonna go my own way. And if that means joining Eliwood and doing this, earning a bit of money through that, why not? He's a morally ambiguous character. I'm sure he's killed plenty in his life, but he's just fighting so that he can, get riches for himself. He can get food for the next day. He can do whatever, right? I think that's super cool. I love those kind of, like, not anti-hero, but sort of these grey zone characters. Like it a lot. And the only reason why he's sticking with us is because we're paying him, or, because he thinks that we have a winning chance, I think that's really cool. I think that's super cool. And, yeah, he has a custom sprite as well. Really cool stuff. I love him to bits. I'm really disappointed we couldn't use him in our playthrough, but yeah, luckily I got to use him all the way to the end in my first playthrough, so Legault is the GOAT. There he is. Okay, next we have Ninian. I'm going to put her in solid stuff. This might surprise you. I'm going to put her in the top of solid stuff. Similar to Nils, I basically have the same thing I want to say about Nils as well when I talk about Ninian. She feels very responsible. She's like, I am not allowed to be in the human realm because she's been treated like trash all throughout ever since she came into the human realm, right? Because she caused calamity to the people around her, and then they were just like, oh, demon, go away from me, that sort of thing. She's been through a lot, right? And that's the reason why she's always like, don't get too close to me, Eliwood, you don't want to do this. But at the end of the day, she is just a, you know, sweet girl that just wants to be loved and have lots of friends and, you know, be protected and stuff like that. She's just, you know, no other different to any other person, right? And I think the game definitely does tackle it really well. Again, I do think Nils is written a lot better in terms of, because he is the younger sibling, because he has those kind of underdog moments where he knows he needs to grow and stuff, where Ninian doesn't really have that much. But yeah, it is, you know, the supports with Eliwood and stuff especially, I think, are really nice, and I do really like her character design as well. And yeah, no, I do think, you know, at the end of the day, I do definitely think she is the main heroine of this game. Some people might say it's Lynn, but I feel like Lynn is more like a deuteragonist of sorts, right? Lynn's important as well, but I do think Ninian's importance to the overall story is a lot more, I don't know what you'd like, established, I guess. So yeah, I do like her a lot. Isadora is also a very solid character. I'm going to put you above. We might have to start moving people back into I suppose, in a second, but I will put you under Kent. She's cool. I don't know too much about her, to be honest, but cool secondary paladin character. It's cool that we get a female paladin. You don't see them too often, so that's very cool. And her silver design was super cool as well. And she's kind of just like, you know, a woman that knows how to do it, a woman that knows how to fight, you know, and I think that's really cool. I think that's super cool, especially in this sort of game, when characters like Lynn kind of get the short end of the stick, and you know, Lynn doesn't get a legendary weapon, but the other two protagonists do, for instance, right? And I think it's cool that Isadora does kind of feel like another Marcus character that you can really rely on and use in the front lines. I think that's cool. Heath, I'm gonna have to start putting characters into Chads and Chadettes more, but I feel like Ninian, you know what, we'll just make the solid stuff into a bigger, yeah, we'll make it a double thing, I think, but Heath is gonna go into solid stuff as well. I think Heath, I might put him under, I'll put him under Eric, no, I'll put him one above Eric, I think. Heath, first of all, aesthetic-wise, I love his design to bits. He has that punk rock kind of style, green and white. I don't get it. I doubt you guys get it as well, as how he can even do that with his hair, but I love it a bit. He's super cool. I like his kind of spiky long hair. Wyvern, he's the first Wyvern rider you have access to, so that's cool. Unfortunately, he's not very strong. That is the one thing that's a little bit of a detriment to him. But I like how he is introduced as a villain, but at the end of the day, he's like, no, I can't do this. I can't kill kids. I can't kill, you know, women or those who are much weaker than I am. He has a heart of gold, and he wasn't really a villain. He was just with the villainist group because he thought that was what was heroic to him, right, in a sense. But at the end of the day, he's not a bad person at all, and I think that's really cool. And it is cool that he comes to reason with Eliwood when, you know, they talk and whatnot. And yeah, it's a very solid character. Hawkeye is the GOAT, but I'm going to put you in Chads and Chadettes. Yeah, I'm going to put you at the top of Chads. I love this man. I love everything about him. I love his design, his, like, you know, tiny little ponytail, his giant abs. He has that kind of, like, tribal sort of, like, what do you call it? Like, I don't know what you call it, but it's not a skirt, but it's kind of like a thing that he wraps around his, like, waist, right? He wields so many cool axes. You know, like even the Basilkos, which is one of the strongest axes in the game. And yeah, he's just like a warrior, right? He's just a warrior man. You tell him to protect someone, he'll do it. He'll do it in a flash. And yeah, I think it is really cool that even characters like Penta just like, I don't want to mess with this man. He's too strong, and he's too much of a, you know, like, yeah, it's gonna be endangering my life if I mess with this man, you know, and I think that's super cool. But he is definitely one of the most heroic characters in this entire cast, and you can use him all the way to the end. Amazing. I love his appearance, you know, and sorry, by appearance I mean the way he, you know, is introduced. You know, there's just a random sandstorm, and then he's just suddenly standing there, and Hector's just like, wait, what is this giant shadow all of a sudden? I think that was really funny and really cool, and really showed how intimidating he was, right? Definitely an A+ for me. I love him tons, and I could not see myself playing this game without him, so Gates, I'm sorry, but I'm going to put you in Who Even Are You because I have never been able to recruit him in my life. I will say though, I'm going to put you higher above in Who Even Are You because I do love his design. I've seen his key visual. It's super cool stuff. He's got the animal fur on his shoulder. He's got the like magenta hair. It's kind of like slicked up. Even the sprite down there, super cool stuff. I did read through some of his support conversations actually for another video, and it's interesting. He kind of had this whole thing of, you know, being like raised in wealth, but because of that, he doesn't know what to achieve in life. He's trying to look for a reason to live, and I thought that was really cool. And that's really, you know, it shows off how interesting of a character that is, in terms of, you know, a character that's super strong, but he doesn't know what to do with his life, right? I thought that was really cool. But again, I've never used him. If I had have used him, he definitely could have been in Chads and Chadettes and solid stuff. So by no means I am saying that he's as bad as like Bartray or Fiora, I don't know. But again, at the end of the day, I've never recruited him. I don't know who he is. He has to go here, I'm sorry. Pent, I have to. I might even increase him over Wrath, to be honest, just because of how fun he is to use. I love the whole silver thing. I think I'm just weak to men with long hair. I think that is kind of a thing. That is a theme. That is a theme when it comes to characters that I fall in love with. As you can see with Legault, even Hawkeye, even Wrath. I mean, Wrath doesn't have super long hair, but he's got kind of like somewhat lengthy hair, like shoulder length hair, right? Pent is amazing. I love him to bits. He's amazing in battle. He can use bolting, Fimbulvetter, you know, Hellfire, and he can heal from far away. He comes with a psychic stuff, which is amazing. And yeah, Pent is just the GOAT. There's not much else I can really say. I love his aesthetic. I love his whole thing with like, yep, this is my wife. What are you gonna do about it, you know? And yeah, his whole relationship with, or you know, his whole you know, friendship and stuff with Hawkeye because they're both disciples of Athos. I think that's super cool as well. Very cool character overall. Next up, Louise. I'm gonna put you in yeah, I suppose. I know she is, you know, she is a cool sniper character. I'll put you, yeah, slightly under Melanus, I think. She's a cool character. I don't mind her at all. But at the end of the day, she is definitely a character that I didn't feel particularly too strongly against. Maybe because I had always, you know, used Rebecca all the way to that point, so I didn't really need another really strong sniper, right? But yeah, no, I think it is really cool, and I think it's super unique that Fire Emblem gives you two units in this game that are already married and that are already maxed out in terms of the A rank. I think that's very unique and super cool. And so for that regard, I do think she is really interesting. And yeah, I mean, her character design's fine, I think, yeah. Not much else to really add. I mean, the pink and the blonde hair do work quite well, so there you have it. Karel. I did not know who this man was until I played, you know, until we accidentally recruited him, should I say. But my god, what a man, what a man. I might have to, should I put you in Chad? I think I have to. From how much he tanked on that one Lim Stella map, I think I have to put him in this tier. I'm gonna put you, I have a weak spot, I'm sorry, I have a weak spot to long-haired men, as I just said. I have to put you under Nils, I think. Yeah. I was surprised at how much I ended up loving this man, and I do know that he appears in Binding Blade somewhere or another, so I cannot wait to see how that will happen. But Karel is the demon sword, as they call him. You know, he doesn't have a reason. All he wants to do is fight against strong character, you know, strong people, and hone his blade, and I think that's just so cool. You know, I know it's so cliche, it's the whole anime thing, but it's so cool. And not to mention, he is a sword master that basically dodges anything. Anything that the enemy throws at him, he will dodge and he will pull a critical. He is amazing. I love him to bits. And his character design is cool. I love how he barely talks as well. It just adds to his coolness. And so yeah, you're definitely up there. There you have it. Next we have Harkin, which is the alternative character that you can scout other than Karel, who I was originally going for. I did use him all the way to the end in my original run. Harkin does crazy damage all the way to the end, even against a dragon, even all that. He has the Brave Sword, cool stuff. I love his design, his giant spiky shoulder pads, his blonde hair, you know, he's cool. He's like because the original time, you know, the first time he appears, he's an enemy, right? And you are scared shitless because he is doing so much damage to all your characters. He is like quadrupling Hawkeye and stuff, right? You're like, how do I deal with this man? And then you realize, oh wait, you can actually talk to him. And I actually accidentally realized that you could actually recruit him. I thought he was just a boss that you had to deal with originally, and I was scared so much on that winter map. But then I realized, oh wait, Eliwood has a talk with him. Oh, that's interesting. And I ended up scouting him, and he ended up being one of the strongest characters in my entire party. And for that reason alone, I have to put him in Chad's. Oh, do I prefer him or Karel? I actually don't know. He's super cool. They're definitely both, I think they're equally as cool as each other personally. I like them both equally. But I might have to give it to Karel. Again, it might be due to hair length. It might be due to just general vibes. Harkin, I don't remember too much of his character. He was very good in battle, but I don't particularly remember too much of his character. He was just kind of heroic, I guess, and is like, yeah, you know, I'm loyal to Eliwood sort of thing. But yeah, I do think Karel's kind of cool in that regard. I'll put you there. He's definitely still a Chad though. I love him to bits. Nino. I will put you in, yeah, I suppose. This is a character, actually I'll put you above Louise, I think. Unfortunately for me, Nino is a character who's kind of like the opposite of Nils. She is definitely a character who is a child character that I didn't feel particularly too fond of. I really, really do like her, you know, the brutal story that she goes through with being betrayed by Sonia, being treated like shit by the character who she views as her own mother, right? And I do like her characterization with Jafar and whatnot, but unfortunately she appears way too late into the story for her to really have that development. And with kid characters, the thing I really like is that coming of age story where this is a weak child character. However, they will grow tremendously and they'll become, you know, somewhat mature by the end of their hero's journey, right? And you don't really get that with Nino here, unless maybe you do. Maybe if you do promote her, maybe if you do read through the supports of Jafar and stuff, maybe my opinion will change. But unfortunately, you're just not with her long enough in the story, I feel, which is really unfortunate because I feel like she has a ton of potential. But yeah, again, she ended up being a little bit forgettable because by that point, I had already experienced that feeling with Rebecca, that feeling with Nils. You know, these are two children that didn't know left from right from the very beginning, but you'd spent so much time with them at that point that you were so proud of them growing in terms of the storyline, in terms of their stats. And I feel like Nino just kind of got that short end of the stick because she just appeared way too late personally. So had a ton of potential, but I'm sorry, I have to put her there. Next though, we do have Jafar, which is definitely in the solid stuff. I do know that Jafar has a ton, and I mean a ton of fans, and I definitely think he could probably go at the top of solid stuff here. I do definitely prefer Legault personally, just because Jafar is somewhat one note, where he's just like, I'm just a killing machine, I don't have emotions, and that is cool as well. I think that is very interesting when stories do that. You know, Naruto had the whole Zabuza situation, where it's just like, I am just a tool, you know, to be used, so that, you know, I can wipe out whoever needs wiping out, you know, and he's cool that he's one of the Black Fang 4 Fang members, but then you end up being able to scout him, and he has a interesting sort of compassionate side towards Nino. He understands that Nino is just a child that has been thrown into this awful situation, and he knows that he needs to put his life in line for this kid, you know, even though he knows that that's going to be detrimental to the overall mission. I think that's really cool. And, you know, his custom sprites are cool, his animations are amazing. Overall solid, but again, I do... Just from a personal preference standpoint, I do really like Legault, so I'm sorry all of you Jafar fans, still like an A, B+ or an A character for me, but yeah, definitely personally not in that higher tier. Next up we have Vader, which I really, really like. I might have to put her, she might just be the first Chadette that I put into the, to be fair, it suits her, it absolutely suits her. I'm gonna put her underneath Harkin, I think. She's pretty much just the better Heath overall. You know, she has tremendous power. Absolutely tremendous power. She has her own custom weapon, the spear. I like how it's just called the spear, you know. Super interesting. I like her whole storyline where it's just like, you guys saved Prince Zephyr, so you know what, I'll help you guys out. I don't care about the Black Fang. I'm just me, you know, I'm just going to fight with whoever I think is right. I think that's super cool. Similar to the whole situation with Harkin, to the whole situation with Legault. I really like characters like that who are constantly switching sides based on their personal circumstances, right? And yeah, just her whole, you know, a woman Wyvern Rider is so cool. And you know, I do know that characters from other Fire Emblem games, like Hilda from the recent Three Houses, well, not particularly recent at this point, but characters like Hilda are very cutesy, very girly, and that's fine. I think that's a cool, you know, that's decent as well, with the whole contrast between she's cutesy but she can pack a punch because she's on a wyvern. But this, you know, the whole thing with Veda is that she is literally the definition of what a Chadette is, right? She is such a boss girl where it's just like, just leave it to me. I'm gonna do all the fighting. I will tank all these hits. Don't worry about me. I know how to fight, you know. I think that's super cool. I think that is so cool, and whenever characters like that appear in Fire Emblem, I'm just like, yeah, I like you quite a lot. So there you have it. You might be starting to see a bit of a trend in a sense where I really like feminine men, but somewhat masculine women. That's kind of a thing with me when it comes to fictional. I feel like with fictional characters, that's definitely a case, you know, maybe not with real people. With real people, you know, they're a lot more deeper than characters, obviously, so I can't just say that in a real life setting. But when it comes to characters, that's definitely my sweet spot, and that's definitely what I like. So Veda definitely gets thrown into there. We have 4 characters remaining. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put you in who even are you, and you in who even are you, because I have no idea who you two are. I believe this is Farina, the blue-haired one, who's like, pay me and I'll fight for you. And I guess that's her whole character, that at least from what I saw. I believe this girl here, the one on the very right, what's her name, like Katrina or something? I saw her once in like a village, and I believe you can recruit her in battle preparations if you have Bartray promoted or something like that, but again, I didn't do that, so I don't even know who she is. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're a fan of this woman, but I don't know who she is, so I'm going to throw you that. Similar to that, in a sense, is Renault. I did get to recruit him at the very end of our playthrough, but we just didn't, you know, spend enough time with this man. Not to mention, his characterization is very much, sure, I'll fight for you. You know, that's basically all it is. He has cool light magic, he has Fortify that can heal everyone. He's very useful in the final battle, absolutely. But he barely has character, at least from what I've seen. I guess he kind of likes traveling around and stuff, but I have to put him in here, I suppose, because, yeah. I'm sorry, but I really do like his silvery, bluish kind of hair. Or like turquoise, like light turquoise kind of hair. And his silver cape is cool as well, but at the end of the day, I do really like the characters that have a little bit more personality and a little bit more characterization than that. So I'm sorry if there are any Renault fans, but I have to put you there. Finally, we have a greybeard Athos himself. This man is a Chad. That's all I have to say. I am going to put you... I mean... I think from a story standpoint, I'm going to have to put you like here. Great Sage Athos, obviously. In fact, I might even put Marcus down into solid stuff just so that the tier list looks a little bit more neater. Again, like I said, I really do enjoy cliches quite a lot. I really do. When you can tell that a story beat is coming and it's like, oh, that's gonna happen, isn't it? And then it happens, it's like, that is so hype. Similarly, with this situation of this old sage who looks like he's so frail he's gonna fall over at any second. And he just tanks everything. He uses insane S-rank magic attacks like Forblaze, like Aurelia, like Excalibur, all these insane attacks. He has this whole backstory, vendetta against Nurgle for 500 years. You know, he has this whole thing with Bramimond, with Roland. He teaches Eliwood and Hector about their ultimate weapons. As well as he's trained, the whole story about him training up Hawkeye and Pent and stuff. You can clearly tell from all these feats that he is an insane character within the lore. He even has his own battle theme whenever he attacks. It is insanity. And the way he goes out is absolutely amazing. He alludes to what's to come within the events of Binding Blade. He says to Eliwood and Hector, don't get too comfortable. We've won this war right now, but things are going to be messy for your future generations, so please keep all that in mind. He he really does love humanity, I think, and I think that's really just super noble and super cool. And I know that's so cliche to say about an old sage character, but I think it just works so well when you have dragons in this game, when you have heroic nobles, when you have that sort of thing. You need this kind of like wispy sort of sage character, you know, this sage character that's kind of like talked about as legends, but you don't really know if he exists or not, that sort of thing. And I think he does that super well. Okay, I have rambled on for far too long. That is going to be it for my Fire Emblem the Blazing Blade character tier list ranking with explanations. Let me know if you agree with anything I said, or let me know if you disagree with anything I said. If I said anything that intrigued you or interested you in a sense, or if you want to challenge anything I said, let me know down below, and I would love to have a bit more of a discussion in the comment section. Tell me who your favorites are, tell me who your least favorites are. I'd love to hear all that, but for the time being, we have run out of time. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this just as much as I did, and I will see you all in Fire Emblem the Binding Blade. Hope to see you all there. Bye bye.